Domestic violence and mental health. According to FindLaw, domestic violence is defined as patterns of abusive behavior in any relationship that is used by one partner to gain or maintain control over another intimate partner, including a partner, family, or spouse. Domestic violence includes physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse, threats, stalking, and economic abuse. Domestic abuse can cause many mental health problems for the survivors. Domestic abuse affects men, women, and children. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, statistics state that an average of almost 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. In only a year, this adds up to more than 10 million women and men who are abused. This can also be 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men who will experience abuse from an intimate partner. 1 in 7 women and 1 in 25 men have been injured by an intimate partner, and 1 in 15 children are exposed to this intimate partner violence each year. And 90% of these children are eyewitnesses to this violence. With the rate of domestic violence occurring in America, it should be no surprise that mental health and illness is linked to those who have experienced domestic violence. Victimization by an intimate partner increases one's risk for depression, PTSD, substance use, and suicide. They are 3 times more likely to have PTSD, major depressive disorder, and self-harm. They are 4 times more likely for suicide attempts, and they are 6 times more likely to have a substance use disorder. People who have gone through domestic violence are more likely to experience mental health issues. According to the Mental Health Foundation, 30 to 60% of women who have a mental health disorder have experienced domestic violence. Domestic violence is associated with depression, anxiety, PTSD, and substance abuse. Domestic violence that is witnessed by our children is linked to having a major impact on our children's mental health, as well as leading to poor educational outcomes. Domestic violence abusers often have underlying mental health conditions as well. Domestic violence survivors have higher chances of becoming diagnosed with a mental health disorder. Depression, anxiety, and PTSD are 3 of the most common mental health issues that can be seen in people who have experienced domestic violence. Children who have been exposed to domestic violence are also most often to be diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and PTSD. The domestic violence abuser may suffer from anxiety, PTSD, bipolar, or multiple personality disorder. Domestic violence victims do not always know that they are being abused, which can lead to an increase in mental health issues. Because domestic violence is commonly thought as of being hit, choked, or beaten, most domestic violence victims think that they do not get physically injured. It is not abuse. Domestic violence is any behavior that is used in the purpose to gain power and control over a spouse, partner, girlfriend, or boyfriend, or an intimate family member. Emotional abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse, and physical abuse is all considered domestic violence when done by a spouse, partner, intimate family member, or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Domestic violence also leads to a victim to having ill health, including women, which includes reproductive and sexual health, among injuries, gynecological problems, as well as temporary or permanent disabilities, which further leads to mental health issues such as depression, suicide, anxiety, PTSD, and other mental health disorders. The physical and mental health outcomes the victims endure have social and emotional sequelae for the individual, the family, the community, and the society at large. Both short-term and long-term physical injuries and mental trouble can either interrupt or end the victim's education or their jobs, which can further lead to mental health illness due to leading them to poverty and being economically dependent on the abuser. Domestic violence has a huge impact on our children, even if it is only them witnessing the abuse and not them being the ones who are abused. They are more at risk of becoming violent themselves in school or in the community as a response to perceived threats. Children are more likely to commit and attempt suicide and use illegal drugs to escape the abusive situation. Children are likely to commit crimes, especially sexual assault. They are more likely to use violence to enhance their reputation and self-esteem due to exposure of domestic violence. Children who witness and are exposed to domestic violence are more likely to grow up and become abusers themselves, as it can be a learned trait. In conclusion, domestic violence has short-term and long-term damage to the victims. Though most of society does not realize that the damage done to a victim is so much more than just physical injuries. It affects their mental, emotional, and physical health. It affects their education, careers, and the ability to provide for their families or themselves. Children who witness the abuse lose their childhoods and are more likely to struggle with adulthood and reaching their potential in life. It is a crime that affects not just the victim, but the entire family and the community. It is important for us to be able to recognize the signs and the warnings of domestic violence, as well as the mental health issues that come from being abused and the mental health issues in which could lead to someone becoming abusive. For us to end domestic violence, we need to be more aware of what it entails and how to overcome it. It is also important to note that domestic violence is often learned behavior, as children who witness the violence are more likely to reenact the same behavior.